Well, hi everyone. Last night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, there was a section of highway that was taken out by a landslide in southern China. And so far, the death toll is around 48 people. Approximately 23 cars, at least that they know about, plunged into this giant opening that was created by the slide. And it appears that people were covered up by subsequent soil movement. There were many fires as a result of the cars crashing into this large hole that opened up. So I want to go over what's caused this, what can be done in similar situations if a roadway is susceptible to these types of landslide failures in terms of monitoring and warning systems, and just provide some context as to what's going on in general with the weather in China. Right now, rescuers are conducting a recovery mission for any victims that may still be present at this landslide. They're using excavators to remove soil, which can be a tricky operation because you could further destabilize the slope and cause additional slides. So apparently this part of China, this southern portion of China, the Pearl River Basin, has experienced unprecedented rainfall, approximately 22 inches in a month's time, which is quadruple the normal rainfall amounts that they would have otherwise expected. It's taken out bridges like you see here. Again, a lot of this is happening at night without warning, although they should expect more of these types of failures. The ground has become saturated. There's erosion, scour at bridge locations, and widespread landslides that are occurring. Here's some more footage showing the flash flooding that's occurred. Rather dramatic video. And right now there appears to be no end in sight to all the rain that's been falling. Just vast areas are inundated. You can see all the exposed portions of the slope where slides have occurred. They're bare of any vegetation. That's a telltale sign of a landslide. So yeah, let's look at some of these pictures here. You can see the scarps from the landslide exposing bare ground. They're all over these slopes. So why does excess rain cause problems with slope stability? Well, if you look at a cross section, geotechnical engineers calculate the stability of the slope by selecting a potential shear surface. Usually it's a semicircular or logarithmic spiral type surface. And they break it up into segments and calculate essentially the weight of the segments, either driving or resisting movement, as well as the shear strength of the soil along that potential failure plane. So when the soils, in this case, they look like clay soils, hold a lot of water here, and you have the upslope sections of the slope taking on water and increasing the driving force. And then also excess pore water pressures develop along the potential shear surface, which reduces the available soil strength. So you increase the driving forces and decrease the resisting forces, which leads to these failures occurring when there's inadequate factor of safety. Now, there's various methods that can be used to monitor these slopes in advance of a potential failure. I was involved with this type of instrumentation over 40 years ago at a major dam project on the Missouri River. There were sections of that embankment that had ongoing movement. So we installed what's called inclinometer casing. It's this PVC casing with grooves in it, and you drill a hole and you grout the casing into place. And this casing has these grooves where instrumentation is inserted. And this instrumentation has an accelerometer, so it's able to measure the orientation of the casing at any given location. And the important thing you're looking for is the change in orientation of that casing over time, which could indicate that you've intersected one of these shear surfaces and could be a sign of ongoing or imminent slope failure. So here's what some of this instrumentation looks like. Now, one thing I think they could be doing in China if they're not doing it already, and apparently if these failures are occurring all over, they're not keeping up, is satellite-based LiDAR. Now that's more for things that change at a slower rate. A plane-based radar is much more current. You basically shoot a laser at multiple points, and you can differentiate small changes in the elevation of portions of the slope over time. So if you have the upper portions of the slope having lower elevations, and you might have lower portions of the slope with higher elevations if you have material piling up at the toe, they're all telltale signs of ongoing slope failures. And there's other types of sensors. You could have GPS sensors. You could have piezometers to measure the excess pore water pressures that may exist in a slope. Again, giving you a warning that maybe you're approaching a condition where the resistance to sliding is less than what it takes to maintain stability. The Europeans, in the Alps in particular, have a lot of slope monitoring systems as well as warning systems, and I think these may need to be implemented on a more widespread basis. I mean, it's just horrific to have a section of highway, 60-foot long section, just taken out at night, and people, because of the orientation of the roadway, they don't see the open hole, and they're just driving one vehicle after the other into this pit. So if you could have systems in place that are activated if a slide occurs to warn motorists, but we're likely to see a lot more of this. I did a video about Three Gorges Dam, and it's in a different drainage basin. It's on the Yangtze River, but my concern about Three Gorges Dam, the largest hydroelectric dam in the world, is that it could be susceptible to failure from overtopping, because these so-called extreme weather events are happening to a far greater extent and frequency than what could have been predicted a few years ago. So I think Three Gorges Dam is very much vulnerable to these types of events where it's just overwhelmed with floodwater, landslides bringing a large amount of sediment and debris into the reservoir. So something to certainly keep an eye on. So I wanted to get this breaking news story out there. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, I want to send a shout out to the channel members. I really appreciate your ongoing support. Also, I'd like to send a shout out to those providing super thanks. And of course, those of you who have liked, subscribed, and commented on these videos. So thanks very much, everyone.